Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and today we are going to be reviewing Chapter 1067 Punk Records. It's me, Akainu Fanboy, and your other host, Geboss. And so please like and subscribe, do all that. And thankfully, we're continuing with the Germa 66 cover story. And we have basically Judge and Caesar pissed off at one another. One quick note I thought was interesting. You didn't really see this level of animosity between them when they first met, when the chateau was crumbling and everything. Um, it was more of a focus on Judge and Sanji's animosity and stuff. So I'm wondering if they're just trying to pick up the Mad storyline and just kind of projecting it back into this panel, or they just genuinely didn't want to see each other. And that's just about it.
Yeah, I think that might be it because we're getting all this stuff with Mads because Vegapunk was part of it too, right?
Yes, and Queen.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny to see. It's rare to see the Vince Smokes show that much in the way of emotion, but to see Ichiji just kind of exasperated with the whole situation.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny. But yeah, I'm curious to see how much longer this continues, though.
Yeah, it's been a bit 24 chapters.
I'd say it's been one of my favorite cover stories, though.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, moving on to the chapter, and we get to find out why Vegapunk's head has gotten a lot smaller and everything.
I want to say I called it last week.
Yeah.
I think I said that he split it up in between everything.
Mm-hmm. And the Punk Records and everything too, and then the Clones division. And so obviously going with the end of this chapter, I'm wondering if CP0, if they destroy Punk Records, what does that do to him, potentially?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. but I'm kind of disappointed that his intelligence is due to a devil fruit and not a natural thing, because
I agree.
That kind of makes him kind of less unique in a sense. Mm-hmm. Because you're kind of anyone could be like this rather than just him.
Yeah, I think you could easily say that Caesar, Queen, and Judge are more impressive in the sense that just comes from natural talent rather than a devil fruit,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I would, in some sense, I'd say Frankie's already exceeded him, because that's just another example of that too, just in terms of raw intelligence. And I was slightly disappointed by that too,
Yeah.
It kind of makes kind of the mythological status of him less intimidating, So yeah, that was kind of a bummer,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious to see if that's gonna be, I don't know, in any way depressing the Frankie, because he looks up to him so much, or if it's just gonna, or if he's not gonna care. So we'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was kind of confused about the Punk Records exactly where it's located, because he said it's under the egg, but I mean, just from the picture, it kind of looks like there's a whole city under the egg. So I guess I'm a bit confused about exactly where it is.
So the panel where you see him describe it, just think of it as sharing the same library. If only I could let everyone in the world connect to my brain. It kind of seems to be more the egg, where it says Punk Records right there, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. That's how I interpret it, at least.
Oh yeah.
And I guess what I found interesting is he's kind of a utopian, or he's kind of foolishly optimistic. It's well, if we just had everybody in the world just putting all this, memories together, we would we can all share one mind and everything would be good to go in a way,
Yeah.
One, I get a lot of creepy sci-fi vibes from that. I'm not saying he's evil, but
I mean,
Creeps
he
me out,
he basically wants like a giant hive mind. Like that's his ideal world where everyone can share stuff, and that's never a good thing. Because you lose your sense of individuality, and I wonder if that would come into conflict with Luffy's character at all.
Very good point. And I don't really see how he's that much different from the world government in a way, you know? I mean, you could say, like, I don't know, is Vegapunk a good person, per se, you know? Or is he just, like, knowledge for the sake of knowledge, you know? Because we see this laid out in the next couple panels of Bonnie. Like, look what you did to my dad and everything. And we don't necessarily know the reason for why he did that, you know? But it's just kind of... That just seems to be his main thing. And that's why he was okay doing stuff for the world government, because it just led to the increase of his knowledge, you know?
Yeah. And he doesn't... I was going to say, he doesn't really seem remorseful for what he did to Bonnie. He said... he's like... Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Of course Bonnie wants me dead. But he doesn't seem like sorry for what he did, because it's all for the sake of science.
And I also think, like, let's say, there's, like, quantitative empirical knowledge in a way, and then there's kind of, like, the type of spiritual knowledge in the way of, like, the dreams in this world, you know, and hockey and ambition and all this stuff. That's something, and I think Jinbei kind of alludes to that with the ideologies. It's kind of hard with the translation to know for sure, but that can't be, like, put in a mainframe, because that's, like, a person's spirit. That's, like, their willpower, you know? And that's something that kind of defies the odds, right? Is fate, you know? And it's, like, luck and dreams and gods and all this stuff, you know? Like, he thinks, like, oh, you know, let's just get everybody to join the hive mind, but then he has the world government to come to destroy it, you know? Like, it's like, no, it's not that simple. Even if you have, like, all the knowledge in the world, you still kind of need, like, a moral code on how to use that knowledge at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah. And I'm also thinking back to the previous chapter. He's kind of more sad when he's, like, looking at Ohara and everything about the information that was lost, and that was his priority rather than the lives that were lost. Right.
And I kind of, like, if another funny, I know maybe I'm kind of stretching a little bit here, but he's like, oh, Momo and the failed fruit, and why was it a failure? Because it was pink, you know? Like, that's why it was a failure. But, like, at the same time, though, that fruit helped save, like, all of those in the capital, you know? Right? In a way. So it's just kind of funny, like, he sees it as a failure, but, like, that technology was used by a good person, i.e. Momo, to save tons of innocent lives, too, you know? So, again, it's just kind of this emphasis, like, he likes technology for the sake of technology, you know? And I think, in a way, this explains why he was kind of cool working with Mads, even though they did, like, a lot of terrible shit, you know, with their personal projects, is because he's willing to use people if it means, like, proceeding with this stuff, you know, like, just to get technology, you know.
Yeah. I actually thought that scene was kind of funny where Luffy just said, "Oh yeah, he was pink." I thought that was funny. But what do you think about the robot story? I was kind of taken aback about what he said about it. That it attacked. Where did it? It attacked the to Mary Joie. So, I mean, I think this is the first time we've ever heard of that.
Yes.
So, I mean, if this came from 200 years ago, I mean, looking at the size and the size of it and the horns, it kind of reminds me of, like, oars. So, yeah. I'm wondering if there's any connection with, like, his race at all. Because we know that like ancient robots are a thing because of the Anel cover story, which we might have to go back and review, just see what exactly is going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting that they said that the scientists didn't want to destroy the robot. So I wonder if it'll play any role in like the conclusion to this arc, or maybe in the future. Do you think so, or do you think that this is just kind of like flavor for world building?
Robot?
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. So 200 years ago, there's very few things we really kind of know about the Void Century, right? As like a little point in history, and let's just say the past 30 or so years in regard to the flashbacks of the Straw Hats and Roger and all that stuff, you know? But so we have like a couple decades compared to like 800 years ago, I believe, with the Void Century. So we don't know much in between that whole couple hundred years, you know, and everything. We just know kind of like about 300 years ago, the German kingdom was a thing, you know, and it spanned the North Blue for like 66 days. So we know that. Then maybe you could say we know about Nolan, that flashback. But I'd say really those are like the two things in that huge period, that huge gap. So it's kind of hard to say like, oh yeah, this relates to this, because we don't really know anything. I'd say the closest thing we know is the German kingdom, which was 300 years ago, and this mech was 200 years ago.
Well, it also says, like right after this, like 200 years ago, that's around the time that the Fishman rights movement started to gain ground. So.
And it's one of the editor's notes is this might be a reference to chapter 620.
Well, that's the translator's notes. Who knows if it's accurate or not? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking, how can that be? So I'm thinking about like Jinbei's flashback and stuff, right? And I'm like, no, like that's way too far past for this to. I assume that's what they're referencing in chapter 620 right here. Was Onahime, you know, trying to get Fishman Island up. I believe that's what the translator's trying to reference, I think. Or it just completely might just be a whole new event that we've never heard about. So maybe we'll find out more about that later. Yeah, anyways, just kind of going back, it's difficult to believe that this mechanized soldier was made over 900 years ago, too. So that was kind of interesting. So it did seem to be made in the Void Century. Right, so, or like it precedes the Void Century too. So, which is like the reason why he couldn't find a power source, which is like interesting. So, what was the power source which made it move 200 years ago?
Yeah. In the past, they had a power source that would upend our modern ideas of what's possible. So, yeah, I can't think of what it would be, because they also mentioned a couple chapters ago about a power source as well, like the sun. So I'm wondering if the power source could be something like, I mean, this is out there, but if somehow the One Piece is connected to that, because it's also connected to like the sun god with Joy Boy and everything, and maybe that's why it eluded everyone for so long.
Right. Oh wait, sorry. Quick note. The other thing would be Nolan. He was 400 years ago.
Okay.
Just like the events that took place with him. So, yeah, I just kind of want another. Like, there's really only like 2 events I think we can approximate or closer to this event too. You know. I mean, unless like the old German kingdom made that thing, or like, I don't know, that thing came from the moon or something. Like, you know, those are kind of like the only connections I could think of in approximation to other events we know that happened around that time. You know, like I said, we just know so little about the preceding centuries to the main story. You know.
Yeah. And yeah, what do you think Vegapunk's thing is that he wants to give Bonnie?
Maybe a message from her dad.
Maybe. I was kind of thinking maybe it's like the codes to like bring Kuma's mind back or something. And then we have Vegapunk asking Luffy to take him off of Egghead, which is, I don't know. What do you think?
So, okay, so this is where we kind of get to this idea. Okay, if they like flee and retreat, then the world government can just destroy everything that they originally wanted to do.
Yeah.
What does that do to him? Does he lose all that knowledge and kind of become a moron? When you think about it, he's too important to leave on the field for the good team.
Yeah.
It would kind of be like Big Mom or Kaido joining the last alliance, you know? Just way too broken.
Yeah. So you think Vegapunk's going to be taken out?
I think they'll destroy the island and he'll just be an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Like, well, if it's not... Sorry?
I mean, yeah, that's one way they could take it if they destroy the Punk records, because that's where all the data is stored.
Yeah, and then he just loses all the knowledge, basically. You know? Just kind of like a fate is worse as death for him, you know? Though, that panel when Lucci and the Cypher Boy just pulling up, though, was insanely cool, though. Loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, with the Seraphim behind him. Even Hatori, Lucci's pigeon, has a mask on. So he's an official CP9 agent, I think.
Yeah, CP0?
Yeah. I'm just so used to calling him CP9.
Aku's mask was funny, too, with the beard and stuff, because he always talks like an old man, and then... Stussie's was interesting. At least. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, pretty hyped about it. There was a lot of slander on Lucci's name on the Twitters about how powerful he is and he's gonna get wrecked. I have a Lucci bias, so put me on record for that. But I am gonna say how Oda reintroduces villains. Usually, like Crocodile, for example, they come back a lot stronger than originally introduced. They're not fighting like pre-time skip levels. And the story, they referred to him as a prodigy. And so, like, if Crocodile could be seen as a force where they would rank Buggy as a Yonko, I would say the way the story has portrayed Lucci, that he has more just raw power and just more of a genius than like most of the other villains that have been fought Luffy. Just in terms of raw potency. And there was an SBS question where, they were asking, is it said that Rob Lucci killed the 500 hostages and then killed the captain too? Why did he have to kill the 500 hostages? And then Oda goes on to say, in short, Lucci believes that being weak is a sin in his mind. Soldiers who were easily caught and chased the nation to be in jeopardy were likely to do the same thing again in the future. So basically, his whole thing is about being powerful, and so like I can see his growth power like really going off the charts. Basically, I'm not saying a Luffy level, but he's not gonna get one shot. Is what I'm trying to get across. They might have a couple clashes here and there.
Yeah. I don't know what Oda's gonna do with him, but. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he actually does go up against Luffy, because I mean people are just gonna be biased against him because he already lost to Luffy before. But yeah, do you think that this is gonna be like we're already coming up to the climax of the arc? or
Yeah, because they got here pretty quick when you think about it. They're basically already taking down the sea creatures. Um, my assumption is their cipher pool is gonna divide though. Um, like I said previously, Kaku's probably gonna go on the Thousand Sunny and have that big, and they're gonna think it's Usopp again, especially with the mask on. Not gonna recognize as Kaku, and they're just gonna be like, "Oh, it's Usopp," as a callback to Water 7 with Zoro and Kaku, and because Zoro and Brook are the only ones on the ship right now. And I think Kuma Seraphim fighting Bonnie needs to happen because look how she panicked with just the security guard that looked like Kuma. So she needs to see kind of like a younger version of her dad, and she has to get over that whole thing too, character development wise.
Yeah.
I think it would be kind of, which means Luffy can't really be involved in that fight. So I think really the only person that could occupy Luffy would be Lucci. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, what do you think about the final part of the chapter with Kuma running off somewhere?
Wait, one quick point.
Yeah.
Lucci talks about Bonnie slipping away and that she served her purpose. Do you have any ideas what he's talking about there?
No, I don't really. No.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they let her go on purpose.
I mean,
Sorry?
Maybe. I mean, I was thinking like she served her purpose, like to lead them to Vegapunk, but they already know where Vegapunk is, so I don't know what other thing they could be referencing.
Maybe she used her fruit with the elders. No, that's kind of like a going on theory and all that shit, but like, that's a possibility too.
Yeah, but I mean, why would she do that willingly? Oh no, I would say that they would want to capture her for that rather than terminate her, if that was the case.
Well, so I think she got caught by Akainu like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I can see where it's like, okay, make the elders younger, or we're just gonna kill your dad right here, because we have him chained up.
Maybe.
And, I can see them doing that. In that respect.
Yeah, but we don't really see them younger.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the heck is up with them, but like, I don't know. Maybe they keep like the same physical appearance, or some. Who knows? Maybe their hockey keeps them young or something. Who knows? Like I mean, their appearance, same appearance. But it is an interesting thought. Like what? Assume they like forced her to do it. Forced her to do something basically. When they got a hold of her, and then she broke free, as we saw at Mary Joa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, So going back sorry, what was the point you were making?
Oh, I was just asking about the Kuma stuff at the end. I'm just wondering why he ran off like that.
Let's see. Maybe Vegapunk's giving some heads up, or maybe like getting some indication that like his daughter's life may be in danger.
Maybe.
I'm curious to think maybe Sabo might be nearby too, since we're being shown the trash can revolutionaries. That this is like, and we saw that. We didn't see him not too long ago, but by an island that got destroyed. And if Bonnie and him, let's just say, got teleported away, and that's most likely how they escaped Marijoa, maybe they got teleported relatively near to one another. we might have like a Sabo v Lucci clash.
That could be too.
Yeah, so I don't know. Those were kind of my initial thoughts on that. It also was pretty funny to see the crew react to Lucci coming back in.
Yeah. Yeah, Sanji didn't care.
Sanji clashed with Lucci and Stampede, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? That might be a thing. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I know movies are very wishy-washy, but just kind of a thought there.
Get your agendas ready.
Oh man, I don't know who I'd root for in that situation. That'd be hard.
Yeah. Your Sanji's bias or your Rob Lucci bias? Which one's stronger?
Yeah. Honestly, if Kaku v Zoro, I rooted for Kaku just to see the salt envelop the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe Kuma's somehow he can sense what's going on with Bonnie or something with the Seraphim so maybe he is somehow linked into the Punk records as well, and he can kind of tell what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Because as soon as like.
Yeah, go ahead.
So maybe like as soon as Sea Monster saw Lucci and one got taken out, it was like, oh wait, like the world government's there. So that means, and if he's connected in the system and is same with the sea monsters, and they probably got all the message at once kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be it. But I'm also wondering what they're doing, what the revolutionaries are doing with Kuma all hooked up.
Either repairing him or getting knowledge out of him.
Yeah, that could be the case. But
yeah, so it sucks that we have to waste panels on the revolutionaries, but I guess it had to be done sometime.
They're gonna be important eventually.
That's only been only been talked about since the end of Ennie's Lobby, so
yeah, but yeah, break next week. Unfortunate, but
yeah, it sucks, but I don't know. It's been good. I like the pace of this has been powerful and really good stuff, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, enjoy the chapter. Any closing thoughts?
No, not really.
All right, cool. Well, like and subscribe, everyone, and hopefully we can get another One Piece video for y'all next week. But anyways, have a good one. See ya. Peace.
See ya.